Hey guys, what's up? I know it's been a while. Just a quick update to let you guys know. Uh, you know, I haven't forgotten about you. Um, Trying to make videos and stuff. Just a little quick update about me. Got sick. Work picked up. Had a death in the family. Got sick again. Past three and a half months have been a little rough. But just I haven't forgot about any of you. Um, Back with another video today. Um, this one has to do with the Modern Horizons 3 set. Um, but if you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and get into it. Welcome back to the Cardboard Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Dan. Um, Obviously, there have been some additional changes since the last video. Like I said, it's been a rough 3 months. But today, we're going to talk about this guy. So if you want to, you can pause the video here. I'll hold it here for a few seconds so you can pause the video and read that. Um, so, as most of you probably know, Modern Horizons 3 is out. Full swing, all that fun stuff. I personally am not a fan of the Modern Horizons 3 set. I've seen Eldrazi in every standard that it has come along. Um, it wasn't great the first time, but most of the things that had Annihilator were big and expensive, and most of those didn't have high values on Annihilator. Your three biggest Annihilator values were on your three Eldrazi gods, essentially Eldrazi gods, the Immercruel, the Kozilek, and the Ulamog. Um, and there were some other things here and there that had Annihilator. It was like Annihilator 1, maybe Annihilator 2, but they were still expensive. They were still like 8, 9, 10, 11 mana. Like they were still expensive and up there. My biggest issue with Modern Horizons 3, one, is the fact that they brought back Eldrazi, but more specifically, that not only did they bring back Eldrazi, they brought back the Annihilator mechanic and put it on more stuff at somewhat lower costs. It's still not super high on the Annihilator number, but it's a mechanic that nobody likes. Or at least nobody in my area. Maybe your playgroups are different. Maybe your playgroups are okay with it. Most of the people in my area that I play with, they are not fans of like, oh, I have an attack trigger that says when it attacks, the person I'm attacking has to sacrifice this many permanents before they can even declare blocks. Um, it's really not a fun trigger to have to worry about, especially now. We're seeing more and more things now, like give you extra attack triggers or give you extra stuff like that. There's a new pre-con colorless Eldrazi deck that has some stuff in it that will double up your Eldrazi triggers. The face commander will double up your cast triggers and your Eldrazi triggers from things being cast. Um, so it's personal opinion. I'm not a fan of it, but the set gave us this spicy guy. This is Nadu, Winged Wisdom. Um, I am a fan of it's blue green. I'm a fan of the blue green Simic color combination altogether. But Simic is very much like a lot of there's a lot of different commanders in Simic that do a lot of different things. So some of them I'm okay with, some of them I'm not okay with. It's a lot like food. Like you find a food you like, and then you have to try and find a dipping sauce. Blue is the disgusting dipping sauce that I absolutely hate, but green is the food that I absolutely love. And sometimes, in some cases, you can pair those two together, and they're absolutely bonkers great. They taste delicious. Um, Things of that nature. But this guy right here, this guy I love and hate at the exact same time. So I like this guy because he's in Simic. I like this guy because he cares about triggers for lands. He gives your creatures extra stuff for lands. In case you didn't read it, a few minutes ago, let me read it to you now. So Nadu Winged Wisdom is one generic green and blue for a legendary creature, Bird Wizard. Now, Bird Wizard, that's a fun type. It has flying. It also has creatures you control have. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. And he's a 3/4. So he's a 3 mana 3/4, which is already good. Has flying, which is great. The ability is dumb. The reason I say the ability is dumb is because I've seen a lot of lists going around. There's not many of them out there, but this is definitely a commander in Simic that cares about using equipment. It's probably the best one in my personal opinion of the ones out there that use equipment, but more specifically, it's looking to use equipment that have an equip cost of 0. Naturally have an equip cost of 0, which is great. The ability is also good. The limitation is twice per turn, but it's to all of your creatures. Specifically does not say non-token creatures, just says all of your creatures, including itself. So that's really good, potentially really bad, but if you're a Simic player and you're building out a board state, well, once you hit Lightning Greaves is the most common one that I can think of off the top of my head. Once you hit Lightning Greaves, every one of those creatures, you're like, all right, cool, I'm going to move Lightning Greaves all around to each of them twice. If you have 5 creatures, that's 10 triggers off the top of your deck to either get a card or get a land into play. That's potentially 10 lands, 10 cards, some mixed variation thereof. Where it gets funky and creative and really dumb, I'll try and leave links in comments after I get the video gone through and everything. I'll try to leave links in the comments. The most recent episode of Commander Versus, I think it was, Corey Ballmeister went infinite on turn 4 with Nadu Winged Wisdom in a non-competitive build. I want you guys to keep that in mind. A non-competitive build went infinite on turn 4 with this guy as the commander in a Commander Versus gameplay video where they try to not build infinites to win the game with this creature and Scoot Swarm. That's dumb. You have an equipment that equips for 0, you have Nadu, and then you have Scoot Swarm in play, and you hit lands off the top. Every time you hit a land off the top with Scoot Swarm, boom, landfall trigger. If you have enough lands, you make another Scoot Swarm. If you don't have enough lands, you make insect tokens, but that's fine. The insect token increases your count now because you get 2 extra count triggers with it. So, like, for every land you hit, you get at least 1 more trigger to get more, at least 2 more triggers to get stuff off the top. If you're hitting Scoot Swarms, because you have enough lands, if you have another land count to play and you have enough for the land count and you get a Scoot Swarm token, that builds exponentially and you can just go through your entire deck. The other thing is the lands, Nadu does not say the lands come into play tapped. It just says put that land into play. So it's going to enter the battlefield however it would normally enter. So if it comes into play untapped, you have an extra mana to use, or 2 mana, or whatever the land is. I've also seen, there was another video, if I can find the video, I'll link that one as well. There was another video where a gentleman was talking about using Nadu, and there's an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability, you may return it to your hand. So you use Nadu with Lightning Greaves, but then you also use Nadu with creatures that cost 0, like Ornithopter and Midnight. So that when you target them, you get your Nadu trigger to get that top card, but then you get to bounce the creature to your hand, and because the creature's free, you get to replay it, which resets your limitation of 2 triggers per turn because it counts as a new creature. So because it resets that limitation, you can still potentially go through there. So a lot of people are looking at using things like Scoot Swarm and that variation. Something I wanted to discuss with you guys is Nadu's power level. For the first time in the history of Commander, I truly believe Nadu is a 7. And I'll explain that in a minute. But I truly believe Nadu is a 7. My personal opinion, Nadu is too fast for your casual Commander games So if you're playing Nadu in a casual commander game, you have to downplay everything you're doing, and Nadu is too slow for competitive commander because you need too many pieces. In casual commander, four, 5 pieces, you're just like, all right, cool, that's easy, especially when your commander can help get you to your other pieces. In competitive commander, you need like maybe 3 pieces max, and you need to have most of those pieces on hand or ways to interact with your opponents in order to protect yourself so that you can get to those pieces. So I truly believe Nadu is a 7 for the first time ever. It's too slow for competitive and too fast for casual. So it's in that so-called non-existent sweet spot. And I don't know how to, like, I love it because it's Simic. I love it because it cares about lands and it does things, and it's one of the few Simic commanders, in my personal opinion, that's actually going to be great with equipment. It just a little too powerful for most of the people that I play with. Not all of them, but most of them, and a little too slow for a group that I play with on very rare occasion. That's just flying through the gate, and it's just like wee. So the big reason I say Nadu is a 7. I'm gonna use some food related stuff here. In my personal opinion, based on how Nadu reads and how things work, Nadu is most men's dreams. And when I say it's most men's dreams, I'm gonna fill you in here. Most men would love to be able to go to a restaurant, like a sit-down restaurant, and be able to order an 8-ounce steak or sirloin or filet mignon or something of that nature with 2 sides and a dessert and a drink for $7. That's Nadu. Nadu is that meal on a card. And if you play Nadu, you can get that pretty much every game for $7. The price tag is $7. $7 meaning power level 7 at this point. But most men in that scenario, if they had the option, like, oh, you can spend $21 a day on food, but your breakfast is going to be this really delicious steak dinner. Your lunch is going to be something along the same lines. You might pick the filet mignon or the sirloin or the New York strip or whatever the case is. But it's fancy marbled meat that's been cooked basically to perfection with 2 sides, a dessert, and a drink for $7. That's going to be your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner every day of the week for the rest of your life. If the majority of men were presented with that option as a food option for the rest of their life, they would probably take it. They would most likely take it. Because it's good food for cheap. That's where Nadu's big issue is, or at least where I feel Nadu's issue is. It's my personal opinion. The issue being that Nadu is the steak or the sirloin or the filet mignon or the New York strip, or whatever you want to call it. It is the main course. It is the entree. It's the piece de resistance to the meal, which is one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of why this is a power level 7. This card alone can make other poop bulk cards, corner case rares, 25-cent rares, mythics, whatever, can turn them into powerhouses. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing by any means. That's probably the greatest thing in a long time for Magic, is to be able to have a card who gives a very unique ability to a lot of other things that are just like, if I had another ability, or if I was a little extra this, I would be better as a card. There are a lot of cards that are going to get improved by being in Nadu decks. There are a lot of cards that are going to see probably price spikes. Like, prices on some of these cards are probably going to go up because of Nadu. There are, there are a lot of strategies that are probably going to be like, all right, cool, I got to make sure I get rid of Nadu, but it's difficult because it's a 3/4, it's 3 mana, like it's a 3 mana 3/4. Its specs are already better than its mana value, which was an old way to evaluate cards. It also has flying, which is a form of evasion. It's still just 3 mana, even better. Has an additional ability that just makes things even better. Terrible equipment that don't see play that cost 0 for your equip. You can play them in Nadu. Now they're going to see price spikes because of Nadu. Like, it's great that some of these older cards are going to be able to be playable now in Commander, but it's also kind of bad or sad because now you might see those cards everywhere, and if they're seen everywhere, they become popular. When they become popular, they become expensive. But more specifically, other than just being expensive, Nadu's going to become a staple Simic commander. When I say staple, it's going to become, I personally feel like Nadu is going to become basically what another card near and dear to me became. And I don't think Nadu is going to stick around for the long haul. Nadu will be here for a while. Don't get me wrong. I believe Nadu will be here for a while. But I don't think Nadu will stick around for the long haul. Personal opinion. If any of you remember from years ago, there was a creature that cost a green, a blue, and 3 that said during each of your opponent's turns, untap your lands and creatures, and creature spells you controlled had flash. It was basically the non-toxic parts of Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir, and the non-toxic parts of Seedborn Muse because it was weaker than Seedborn Muse. It was something of Krufix. I don't remember the full name, but that card got banned in Commander. That card will probably never be unbanned in Commander. And I feel like Nadu is a much stronger, much better version of that card. It's cheaper. It's stronger as an individual creature. Like the card I'm talking about was like a 2/3 for 5 mana that had those abilities. So it was still relatively easy to kill, especially in red. Nadu's a little bit bigger, 2 cheaper, 2 generic cheaper, has evasion, so ground guy's not so much of a threat if you decide to swing. But no, they banned that other card that I'm talking about. Hold on, give me a second. Let me look it up. Where am I gonna go for this? MTG. No, we're gonna go to Google because whatever. It was something of Krufix. I remember that. Give me just a second, guys. No, not this website. Yeah, there we go. This is the website we want. Prophet of Krufix. That's what it was. Prophet of Krufix. It was a 5 mana 2/3, 3 generic, blue and a green. So Nadu's a 1 generic, blue and a green for a 3/4 instead of a 2/3. Prophet of Krufix says untap all creatures and lands you control during each other player's untap step. Seedborn Muse, just not all permanents, strictly lands and creatures. Prophet of Krufix also says you may cast creature cards as though they had flash. That's the non-toxic portion of Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir. Nadu has flying, is a bigger creature, is cheaper, and gets you things off the top of your deck, either into your hand or into play. And gives that ability to all your other creatures, as well as itself. Because it says each creature you control. Prophet of Krufix was banned. So it actually says here on the page that I'm on, says that Prophet Prophet of Kruphix creates a gameplay pattern where the controller of the card can interact and meaningfully play during each other player's turn. This inevitably leads to one player monopolizing play time without definitively ending the game. The deck that I had built during the time frame where this was a legal card, that statement is 100% true. 100% true. But the deck that I had built had 2 different win conditions, and that was it. And both win conditions required me to hit a particular card over and over and over again to be able to win. So if I had to find ways to filter out my deck, which was the difficult part. But the Prophet of Kruphix made that a little more possible when I'm being able to play creatures that get things out of my deck and do stuff on everybody else's turn. That is an appropriate statement as to why it should be banned. Why it should have been banned. That was one of 10 different reasons as to why they should have banned it. When they initially banned it, when it was originally banned in the Commander format, the actual reason given, and I don't know if you'll be able to find this or not, the actual reason given as to why it was banned is because too many newer players that were getting into the Commander format were building decks so that they could play Prophet of Kruphix. They saw an increase in Simic color combination, in the Simic color combination, in newer players because of Prophet of Kruphix. Prophet of Kruphix is the weaker combined versions of Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir, and Seedborn Muse. Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir being the blue portion, Seedborn Muse being the green portion. Now, alone, either one of those alone is not as strong as Prophet, of course, but they are both a strength of Prophet. The Teferi gives your creatures flash, the Seedborn untaps your lands and creatures and other permanents. Prophet was a great card. I personally wish that Prophet would be unbanned. It's probably never going to be unbanned. But the reason I feel like Nadu is going to eventually get hit the way Prophet got hit is because at some point this giant text box that says each creature you control does this whenever it gets targeted with a spell or ability, that's going to get out of hand. And a lot of Simic players, a lot of players that like to have cards in their hand and lands in play, I'm one of those. I'm probably the biggest proponent of that. Nadu's going to be the go-to commander. You're going to see a greater increase of cards like Avenger of Zendikar. You're going to see a greater increase of things like Scoot Swarm. You're going to see a greater increase of things like the Lotus Cobra and the Nissa legendary creature version of Lotus Cobra. You're also going to see the 5 mana creature that has Ascend that gives you a sapling that when you get the City's Blessing, all your saplings get +3/+3. You're going to see an increase in that creature. You're going to see an increase in there's some other creatures you're going to see an increase in. I think there's a version of that 5 mana creature I just mentioned in Modern Horizons 3 as an Eldrazi that makes the 0/1 tokens that you can sack for colorless mana that get +2/+2 if you ascend. So like you're going to see that guy coming out in droves. Basically everything that you can think of in blue-green that will just generally generate a token to give you an extra body, you're probably going to see in Nadu builds, along with Lightning Greaves and things like Lightning Greaves that equip for 0. I think Paradise Mantle is one of those. I'm not positive. I know Paradise Mantle can be played for 0. I don't know if it can be equipped for 0. Or maybe you play it for 1. I don't remember exactly. I've played Magic for way too long, people. But I really feel like Nadu's going to be great and fun, kind of be fun, until people start seeing an uptick in Simic decks that are Nadu. I feel like Nadu's going to be the common Simic commander for at least 6 months. At least in casual play, I think Nadu is going to be better than Keenan. I'm not so sure about competitive play, but like I said, I don't think Nadu's fast enough for competitive play. Um, the other thing is the Commander Rules Committee, which would effectively be the restaurant at this point. Uh, they'll probably let it slide until they realize the restaurant is losing money by only making the steak dinner $7. Apologies. The restaurant's going to realize that it's losing money when it's giving you a full entree, sides, dessert, and drink for $7, um, and good quality meat for that. So, like I said, if you're a fan of Simic like I am, I don't want to say this, but I kind of feel like I have to jump on the Nadu bandwagon for as long as it will last, because it's not going to last forever. Um, I really honestly feel like Nadu will get banned, especially as more and more sets come out. We might start seeing an increase in equipment that costs 0 to equip, even if the equipment doesn't do anything. Like if the equipment costs you like 1 to play, 0 to equip, and the only thing it does is says equipped creature gets +1/+1 when it's declared as an attacker, and that's it. Like it doesn't give it any permanent buffs, just has when this creature is declared as an attacker gets a slight bonus, but it costs 1 to play and equips for 0. Because it equips for 0, Nadu's gonna love it. Um, Nadu is 100 times better as the commander than part of the 99, but if you're playing, this is the really annoying part for me. If you're playing Galela, I think it is. It's the Bant elf chick that cares about casting auras and equipments off the top of your library. If you're playing her, Nadu should probably be in your 99. Just for that last ability of being the target of spells and abilities. Galela will let you play auras and equipments off the top of your library. If you cast an equipment this way, Galela's ability will let you automatically equip it to something. But that's an auto equip that's still a target, which will trigger Nadu. So with Galela as your commander and Nadu in the deck, once you hit Nadu, now you can start seeing like you'll put your equipment and your auras into your hand, but you'll start putting lands from the top of your library into play. And where I think that's really nifty is Galela will let you play the equipment off the top of your deck. So, like if you had a Sensei's Divining top and you were like, "Ooh, I'm going to look at my top 3. I'm going to rearrange it so that the equipment is on top. The next card down is a land, and then the next card down is something that doesn't really matter because I'll have the mana." You play the equipment off the top. You have Nadu and Galela in play. You play the equipment off the top. Trigger Galela. Auto equip to either Galela or Nadu, depending on the equipment. Trigger Nadu's ability. Get the land off the top straight into play, and then you can relook at the top 3, and you can consistently dig your equipment to cast your equipment, and then it'll auto equip, which will trigger Nadu at least twice per creature a turn, and then you can get your land off the top, and that's a good way to do things. It's mana intensive, so that's one thing, but Nadu as the commander versus playing a 3-color commander deck where Nadu's in the 99 is much more intense, much more harsh as an opponent of that kind of a deck. I like lands. I like cards in my hand. Nadu's probably going to be my next favorite commander for a long time. I'll be perfectly honest. Like that's probably what it's going to be. And I'm really sad because I truthfully don't think Nadu will last long enough. I truthfully do not believe that Nadu will last a long enough time. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Trying to keep it short and sweet. Just want to give you guys a little life update. Talk about Modern Horizons 3 and some of the awesome Nadu probably being the most awesome thing I've seen so far for Modern Horizons 3. And dumb MH3 stuff. But yeah, so that's probably going to be it for today. Thanks for joining Cardboard Kitchen here today. I appreciate it. I know you guys enjoy this stuff whenever I get this stuff out. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you're new and you randomly ran across us and you managed to last this long, thank you so much for lasting this long and listening to me ramble about my opinions on some of this stuff. If you like the content, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit that thumbs up button. Hit that notification bell if you do subscribe so you can be notified every time I put one of these out. It's been a while since my last one. Like I said, life got crazy. It was really difficult there for a stretch. But I'm trying to get back in the swing of things, of getting some of this stuff put out for you guys. I'm still working on talking to some people, trying to get something figured out so that I can do some Commander gameplay for you guys. Because I know that's really what you guys want to see is Commander gameplay, and then talk about some of that stuff. I did start a Discord channel, but I'm working on setting up some of the Patreon stuff. So the Discord channel will be connected to the Patreon related stuff once I get all that stuff set up. I will try to get stuff posted and updated on the Facebook page when I get a chance. As soon as this video gets done uploading and all that fun stuff, I'll be putting that on the Facebook page. I will link the Commander Versus video. Shout out to Corey Ballmonster, Stephen Green, Jeremy Knoll, and Jonathan Suarez. To those guys, you guys do great content. I appreciate it. It's content that I get to slowly enjoy. I don't typically get to watch the full episode in one session. I usually get it in like little 10-20 minute snippets, if that, most of the time. So it usually takes me like a whole week once you put out an episode to watch the full episode. But I will link their most recent videos so you can go over there and watch them. If you're not following them, and you like what they do, go follow them. Great group of guys. Great Commander players. As I mentioned, the other video that I saw where the gentleman was talking about Nadu, 0-drop creatures, and I forget the name of the enchantment. If I can find that video again, I will link that in a comment. I will put that in a comment down below. Would love to hit 1,000 subscribers at this point by the end of the year, the way things are going. Hopefully by the end of the year. If we can get to the 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I'll be able to start putting links and stuff as pinned comments or strictly in the description boxes. So definitely kind of want to hit that mark so we can start putting stuff in an easy to find place for you guys. I know whenever I post them as comments, they're usually the first or second comment on the thing, so they're usually at the very bottom in case you guys see a ton of comments. They're usually down there at the bottom. So if we can get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, I hope to see you guys again in the next one, in another kitchen update. Thanks. Appreciate it.